Hello everybody, this is Kiru Show here, and yes, I'm going to be resuming this series now that I'm done with the 800 subscriber special. But I feel like this series may not be back for very long, because I'm already at 667, I believe, at the time of recording. So, at the rate of my growth, I may be doing a 900 special probably next week, if not the next weekend. Yeah, probably next week. Anyways, that what if I finished just yesterday. I actually really like the ending I did to it, and I will be sticking with it. I'm not going to say the ending in case those of you who want to watch it. But I do have a hero version of it in progress that I'm thinking about. Now, back to this what if. What if Deku had Doomslayer's abilities? Part 13. Now, they had just arrived at the base, I believe. They were scouting it out, seeing if there were any enemies nearby. There were. Now, where's my notebook? Hang on. That was annoying, but I think I got it figured out. Anyways, I have two separate notebooks. I lost the one that had the information about who was on this team. So I apparently remembered. And I have Deku, Ibara, Mei, Momo, Kaminari, Lita, Ida, the L is silent, I think, Bakugo, Jiro, and Ochako, which I'm pretty sure I spelled Ochako wrong. And if there is, I believe, more members on the team, but Mineta and Copy Bitch are not on the team, before anyone comments. But if there's anyone I missed, please tell me and I will try and find that notebook in the meantime. Now, let us begin. Deku and Ibara, along with the rest of the team, are still scouting out this area. They see that it is basically infested with demons. And these aren't your standard low-level demons. These guys are pretty big. Some of them are at least 10 feet to 12 feet tall. And the leader is a cyberdemon who, albeit might be a less enhanced version, he is in charge. Deku is seeing this, and he sees all the cyberdemons. If not, well, actually, only the boss is a cyberdemon. Let's go with that. Now, Deku is watching all this, and he has an idea. He tells everyone that he is basically going to be a distraction while they all go in and try to secure the inside. Because knowing the Slayer is basically knocking on your front door is going to be a very big priority down here. So Deku would immediately activate his boots and his demon wings, and he'd actually start flying up into the air, and he would just take out two pairs of guns and just start firing on the entire squad of demons. As soon as this happened, alarms start going off and ringing, and you just hear demons shouting, "It's the Slayer!" As you see an entire horde just tumble over and fall over each other as they are firing on and trying to attack Deku. As soon as this happened, Deku immediately just turns around and he actually just starts flying away. Actually flying towards the Ancient One. Now, while this is going on, Bakugo takes charge and he turns on full cowling. After all this exercise and strain he's put on his body down here, he feels like he can go at 50%. So he actually begins leading the group inside as they all begin using their quirks. Bakugo's personal favorite thing about these gauntlets and these gloves Deku made for him, anytime he goes to throw an explosion, he doesn't have to worry about destroying the equipment, because it's basically working like his hero gear. Along with the fact that these things actually take his explosion, and they actually can carry it through the gauntlets and actually forward throughout the gloves, basically giving Bakugo a focused AP shot. which he was really wondering why that little thing was basically on his hand. Basically like how there's a giant stone on the Infinity Gauntlet that's just sitting there. Bakugo has a little thing that can come up and he can just fire off the AP shot. So Bakugo sees this and he's really happy about it, thinking, damn, I gotta get me another pair of these. Now, while that's going on, Bakugo begins leading everyone in, and they begin attacking the demons. Kaminari would tell everyone that they need to get down, if not, find cover, as he begins trying to charge up his own power, and he actually puts his hand on the ground and begins shocking the entire area. As he's sending a shock through, Jiro is actually blasting as much sound as possible forward, trying to knock everyone into the electrified wall. Now, while this is happening, Bakugo is actually taking this opportunity to use his AP shot, and he's actually firing it off at the demons. And he actually tries to use full cowling with this to see if he can try and boost it, but as soon as he does so, basically a giant laser swoops through the area, actually destroying the wall, nearly bringing down the facility. As soon as this happens, Bakugo thinks he is not going to do that anymore. They would come across a computer, and Mei would see this and she'd actually start looking around trying to find hard drives, if not something to download everything on the computer. Eventually, Deku would come back after leading the demons into a sleeping ancient one, which you do not want to wake up. But they made a mistake and sadly did. Deku would loop back around probably an hour later or so, and his team has secured the entire top floor, and they are making their way down. Deku would eventually get back, and he actually comes through the top floor, seeing all the demons and the marks on the wall Bakugo created. He's thinking, oh, Bakugo found my little gift. So, he begins making his way down the stairs. As this is happening, he almost gets shot by Bakugo, saying, you really need to call out when you're down here, man. Well, next time you gotta fucking look, dude. You don't just go blasting someone's head off. Dude, you're so durable, I doubt I could blast your head off. Well, try it, bitch. Not the time for this, guys, is what Ida would say. Now, while this is going on, Deku immediately walks forward, saying that they did a good job, but from here on, they might be looking for booby traps. What do you mean? Well, one of the facilities I once went to, I had an entire group of Ints chase me off of the floor, and let's just say whenever they walked out of the corridor, they weren't all in one piece. So, from here on out, be careful. Because there might be demons on this floor, but there might also be traps. Now, as soon as that happens, Deku would walk in, and there aren't really a lot of demons on this floor. Deku thinks, okay, so these are just a lot of traps then. As he begins looking around, he tells Jiro just to put her hand on the ground and actually just vibrate the entire area. This will set off all the traps in the facility, if not all the ones on this floor, albeit alerting their presence to everyone around them, but getting them through. They would go down further, finding that they just got to the second floor, down to the third one. They would find a lot more demons as Deku walks in with his blades out and immediately begins fighting. As soon as this happens, Bakugo would join in on Kaminari and Momo. Momo actually switching to a sword and trying to help out. Mei is basically just sitting there and she's more or less tech maintenance, so she's actually just watching this. Albeit, Deku would he would have at least, I believe said he made her full armor and a weapon. Let's make that weapon like a bow staff, but also a spear. So it's basically like a double-ended bow staff, but on the ends of it are retractable blades. So you can actually swing it around and actually use it at longer distance. Basically making sure that you don't get cut or stabbed by demons. She would essentially pull this out of a utility belt, and she's kind of confused about it because it's basically just this long pole, but then it gets longer. That's what she finds really interesting. Because the way this thing is made, the blades sit right next to each other, and whenever they retract, they actually basically snap into place right on the end of each other. So this basically helps the bow staff. Now, she actually sees this and she's interested, so she would actually just put down one side and actually try using it as a spear. Actually trying to swing through and hit a couple demons, albeit somewhat almost hitting half of her team. Deku would have told her that the way that works is that you have to have both sides out. Otherwise, you're off balance and just swinging too much weight around. It's supposed to be evenly distributed. I woke up not too long ago and had to take my sister to school. I'm happy my brain isn't working. Yeah, she missed the bus again. Now, he's telling her that the way that works is it's supposed to be even. The weight is supposed to be evenly distributed. There we go. After this, she would actually take out the other side, and she actually finds that these things can actually break off of each other. But as soon as she does it, she thinks, "Oh crap, I just broke. Wait. Oh, that's awesome!" She would actually just be swinging these things around even more now, and having a lot more fun. Afterwards, they'd go down to the 4th floor, where there's basically nothing but imps. If not, a lot of them. Ibarra would actually try using her quirk to restrain a lot of them and actually tie them up into basically a giant ball. Deku tells her that this way they can actually kill them better, if not take them out more effectively. She just says that she's had enough with the killing and they need to get through here. Deku would look at her and say that these things aren't human and they would gladly kill us on the spot. In fact, look at this, as he would he would scoot up his gauntlet on his arm, saying that whenever he first arrived here, he tried negotiating with these guys. He kept pleading for them, but he was forced to kill. This is how he survived, and this wound is the only thing that stopped me from dying. Because a demon almost took out my eye, if not my brain. Almost killing me. So you have to fight. It's the only thing that keeps us alive down here. She would be somewhat hesitant, just being a little bit more afraid of Deku. But Deku would calm down, saying he's sorry, it's just this place does something to you. It's not easy. But if you can get through this entire experience without it changing you, that just proves you're a better person than I can be. As he just walks away and leaves the imps all tied up. Now then, they would actually go down further to the 5th floor, I believe. And actually encounter... Ow. And actually encounter a bit bigger of demons. These demons are roughly the size of the troops they had upstairs, if not at the surface. And Deku would immediately just blow through them, along with Bakugo, and Kaminari electrocuting them, along with Jiro blasting out their eardrums, and Ochako trying to get them to levitate to the ceiling. Now, they would eventually get through this floor, and Deku's been feeling his power increase, so he thinks that this is very good. He just needs to work on this a bit more. If not, he just needs to work on making the strength his own. As he doesn't really like his quirk, but he just accepts that he can use it here. Now, Deku is actually thinking that the next floor should be their last one. As Deku would actually open the door, he almost gets met with a knife to the face. As Deku, he opens the door, and a battle axe comes swinging down. But as soon as it came swinging down, Ibara actually somewhat got in Deku's way by stepping in front of him and putting vines throughout the doorway, catching the battle axe but cutting through the vines, stopping directly in front of Deku's chest. She would have told Deku that was very close, but he said that they should be more careful. He should follow his own advice. Deku would just say that he didn't really expect there to be floors. He didn't really expect there to be floors trapped this deep in the facility. But you're right, I really should have. So let's continue then. As Deku begins, he actually just takes down the battle axe, looking at it, thinking that this is... Oh crap, what was the metal it's called? Hang on, let me look at the Slayer Testament. Alrighty, it's called adamantine. Alright. He's thinking that this is a pretty hefty size axe, so whoever put it here, I had to expect him. As he inspects the trap, realizing that this was actually set up in haste, which basically means very fast, so it wasn't meant to just sit here. He thinks that, so these demons are a bit more tricky than he thought. It was smart, but it was also stupid. As now he has a weapon to kill that guy with and put a head on. Because hey, heads are nice for the collection. Now, Deku, he carries this thing out. As he begins, they would start looking through the floor and find more demons, but they would also find information on computers. May would see this, and she's thinking that there's too much here to be stored on drives. They can't really find them. So they may just have to take the entire computer, if not the software, with them. As she's thinking about this, she would be attacked and she'd actually have to use a part of her spear. She would actually be holding the baton, actually trying to hold them back. But as soon as Deku just walks over, the demon's staring at him, and Deku would just do one thing. He grabs May's spear, and he just flicks a switch on it, and the blade will retract out into the demon's neck, and Deku would just flip it back as the blade would just retract back in, and the demon would fall down on the ground. Deku would just say, you know, for a person who works on a lot of different tech and gear, sometimes that is not the best quality. In fact, I think you need to work more on fighting. Alright, well that's not my problem. It's your guys's. That's all of our problem. In fact, one thing I did hear one of Stevens say back at the USJ a couple months ago, well, days, it's weird down here, okay? They were looking for someone who knows how to build tech. I'm not sure who that might be, but you're a pretty good candidate for that. You think so? You're literally in hell with us. If I didn't think so, you wouldn't be here. Now, well, that's pretty insulting. Well, I'll take it as a compliment. Alright, let's move. As Deku says this, they begin walking down. They would reach the 6th floor, if not... Yeah, I believe it's the 6th floor. If I'm confused about that, just know I did not. Pausing it and having to resume it is not easy to do. Now, Deku is actually looking through this, and he sees a lot of different demons. He thinks, okay, so their boss must be on this level, So he's got to make a pretty good entrance. Everyone was asking what he means, and he would just say, usually the demon slayer or the doomslayer, whatever they like to call him, they always see him make a grand entrance. One time, he literally arrived as a place was exploding, and people thought he did it, just because I walked into town. You should have seen the look on all their faces. It was hilarious. So, let me try. As he tells everyone to back up, he takes the battle axe and he actually aims it, and he immediately just throws it as hard as he can. As soon as he does this, the axe goes swinging through the air, cutting off several demons' heads, and latching into a wall where it holds one demon's head up as his body slumps down to the ground. He says, "Alright, that'll work," as he just walks in with his arms behind his head, actually stretching out his body. As he does this, a lot of demons see him, and he just quite simply puts his hand up and motions for them to come at him. As soon as this happens, they begin coming at him, and Deku would just close his hands, bring out his blades, and start mowing through them. As everyone else comes in, Ida would actually start thinking that they need to see how many people are around the floor, so he begins running. At this point, after 2 months of running around hell and just running in general, I want to actually put him around his internship level, but that might be untrue. He might actually be faster. I believe he can reach 120 with his engines. But, okay. So he's somewhat running around the level, trying to figure out where everyone is. And at this point, he usually just tries dodging and doing whatever he can to stay away from blades. But he would eventually run into a demon, where it basically tries tripping him up, and he would actually have to use his weapon, where he basically has very, very heavy armor covering his calves. So he would just do a bit of a reciprocal burst, actually smacking the demon in the side, breaking a lot of its ribs, sending it flying into another demon. As this happens, May would actually come over to try and help him, but this is kind of in vain as everyone starts getting overwhelmed. Deku would eventually see this, and he immediately runs back over, but Bakugo tells them all to duck. Everyone immediately just drops down, getting as low as they can, and Bakugo just starts ripping through them all with an AP shot, killing a lot of the demons before Deku can get there. And as this happened, Deku's looking around, and he sees that everyone's fine. Except he cannot find Ibarra. As he's looking around for her, this is whenever he sees the cyberdemon. This thing is huge, around 20 feet tall. He sees it, and it has an entire body made up mostly of metal, and one of its arms is actually a cannon. But in its still flesh hand, it's holding Ibarra by her shirt and just waving her around like she's nothing. This pisses off Deku as the demon tells him that he has a plan for this little mortal. In fact, it's been such a long time since he's seen a human, let alone grabbed one and tortured it, that he plans on having a bit of fun with her. What should I do first? Let's see. Well, usually humans don't like the guillotine, so I might start with that, but an Iron Maiden. Fit for this daughter of Christ. Don't you think, Slayer? As this happens, Deku gets angry, and he just holds up one of his blades that are in his gauntlets, saying that he needs to put her down. The demon would not comply, saying that, in fact, I do not believe we've been properly introduced. A lot of people just call me Cyber, because, well, as you see, I have no need for flesh. So, just leave and I will keep this human for myself. Clearly that's not happening. As he immediately just turns his hand and the blade in his gauntlet, you just hear a loud pop as it flies out, and Deku immediately begins running at the demon. The blade flies out of Deku's gauntlet and stabs the demon in its left eye, as Deku immediately begins running in, telling Ida to grab Ibara and telling Bakugo to actually help him. As this happens, the demon actually puts up its hand, firing as blindly as much as possible. This is actually going towards Ibara, and Deku would immediately just get in his way, putting his hands up, hoping his durability will do something here. As this happens, the bullets would hit Deku, and they're actually somewhat digging into his skin, but they would just break it. They would just break his skin and fall off, along with hitting Deku's armor, actually piercing it. Deku's actually really glad, saying that, okay, well, I got lucky here, so I better not waste it. As he immediately leaps off of one leg, Bakugo would be coming in with an AP shot, aiming for its chest, hitting it in the gut, where all its metal pieces are. Deku immediately runs in, actually grabbing it, ripping out its other eye, and actually punching his blade deeper into its brain. The demon is still pissed off, saying he doesn't need sight to take them down, so he would immediately just begin trying to grab randomly. He would grab Deku, actually trying to squeeze him as much as possible, but Deku does one thing that the demon is sort of trying to figure out. Deku actually grows to around its size, 10 to 12 feet tall, and is actually having a battle with it, and this kind of confuses him. The Slayer is a demon? What is wrong with you? Oh, I'm not a demon. I can just look at you ugly fuckers. As he immediately overwhelms the cyberdemon, he breaks his hands, shrinks back down to his regular form, and he jumps up to it, digging into its metal gut, and begins pulling up as much as possible, ripping its torso free and just throwing it into a wall, killing the demon as it will bleed out. Everyone watched Deku do this, and this is whenever people are asking Ibara if she's okay. Ibara would just quite simply get up and walk over to the demon. The demon is basically begging for his life, as Ibara takes the ring, flips the little lever on it, revealing the blade. She immediately slices the demon's throat, which actually really shocks everyone in the room. She would immediately turn around, saying, "You said that we had to change to survive. I believe you now." As she looks distraught and disappointed in herself and just quite simply walks away. As they just secure the entire facility, Mei and Momo would actually be walking through it, avoiding the piles of bodies they have, staying on the cleaner levels most of the time. But she would actually find all the information that they have and all the data they can find, telling Midoriya and Bakugo and Ida that essentially they may have to have a longer trip back. She can't store all the data on the hard drives, and even then she would need probably 100 of them. So Deku would quite simply say that they can just take them with them. As this is whenever Deku, he would actually find metal straps, if not whatever he can, metal wires, the plastic cables, and he actually begins essentially making backpacks out of the computers. And what I'm talking about is the whole giant box that you would have sitting underneath your home computer if you've ever seen one. So Deku is essentially putting as much of these up as possible, and they would basically be able to fill up the hard drives as much as possible on the other computers by transferring data, but they would probably only be able to do at least 10 or 11, if not 12. So basically, if you've ever played Death Stranding, how that giant backpack can go to literally probably your height, and you can carry it on your back, Deku would be like that. As they would leave, Deku is asking Ibara if she's still okay. Ibara would say she's fine, but at least let her help him, as she would take 2 of these off of him, actually surprised at their weight. And Deku would just somewhat laugh at her, saying that Well, you gotta think about this. They're not human, Ibarra. Even then, these guys want to kill us. Think about it like this. If God wanted it, he wouldn't have sent me here. Obviously, he wants me here for a reason. So, I'm fulfilling it. You gotta do the Lord's work and kill these things. As Ibarra immediately thinks that that's right. Whatever happened with Deku is perfectly in line with the Lord's plan. So she actually takes this with a newfound stride. Actually somewhat encouraging everyone to kill demons. Now, I will be leaving this off here, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and have an amazing day.